was in a very public relationship. They were kids. People were obsessed with the idea of them. People were confused on the timeline you're talking about of like, is she a homewrecker? So I guess my question is, Hailey, were you ever with Justin romantically at the same time as her?
No. Not one time. When him and I started hanging out, like, okay, let's just put it this way. When him and I ever started like hooking up or like anything of that sort, he was not ever in a relationship, ever, at any point. I would never, it's not my character to mess with someone's relationship. I would just never do that. I was raised better than that. I'm not interested in doing that, and I never was. I think that there are situations where you can still kind of have like back and forth with someone, but even that was not the situation. Like I can say period point blank, I was never with him when he was in a relationship with anybody. That's the end of it. And I had been involved with him since I was 18. The timeline also that I think sometimes is in question of like us getting together and getting engaged and him having been spending time with his ex before that. This is so crazy. I've literally never talked about this ever. I understand, again, how it looks from the outside, and there's a lot of perception there, but that was a situation where I know for a fact that it was the right thing for them to close that door. They were not in a relationship at that time, but of course, there's a very long history there, and it's not my relationship. It has nothing to do with me, so I respect that a lot, but I know that it closed a chapter, and I think it was the best thing that could have happened for him to move on and be engaged and get married and like move on with his life in that way. And it's hard for me to talk about this because I don't want to talk on either one of their behalf, again, because it was their relationship, and I honestly respect that very deeply. But I just know what was going on when we got back together, and I know what had to happen for that to come back together in a healthy way. And I think it was the most healthy, mature decision that he could have made, and I respect that. As a woman, I would never want to get into a relationship with someone and be engaged to them and be getting married to them and think in the back of my mind, I wonder like if that was really like closed for you, and I know for a fact that the reason we were able to get back together was because it was very much completely closed, and that is respectful to me.
So let's talk about your experience with, there's been a lot of hate on the internet. I know you don't like to talk about this stuff, but you've never...
It literally makes me so uncomfortable. But
and
like,
I see that. I see.
Yeah, I'm like can't stop moving, and I'm like crawling because I just feel like there's like a little bit of that like anxiety of like people will probably take it the wrong way, or like I just don't want to say something that is like being disrespectful or like bringing up something that can like stir up feelings for someone that like, I know that we're just all so far moved on from like any type of drama, and I'm so happy for that. So like I get nervous about talking about it because I'm like, I don't want to like stir anything up or like bring anything up that is going to be like a thing. Or
and I get that, and I think the reason, unfortunately, is you guys aren't completely normal human beings. There is a complete world out there that is obsessed with all of you in different ways, and then there are people that hate you for who your husband dated back in his past. Take me through how your husband's past relationship still to this day affects what people are saying about you and to you on the internet.
Well, I think like one of the things that we already just covered is that like the timeline of things, and like a lot of the hate and the perpetuation comes from like, oh, you stole him. And I guess maybe that just comes from like the fact that they wished that like he had ended up with someone else, and that's fine. Like, you can wish that all you want, but that's just not the case.
In December of 2020, a person posted a video encouraging haters to comment on your Instagram live with nasty messages announcing their allegiance for Justin's ex and just like fully harassing you on your live. What do you remember feeling on that Instagram live when you saw those comments start popping up?
I think there's like a certain like almost like numbness that you get where you just know it's going to happen. It still happens to this day. You're talking about something that was 2 years ago now, almost 3. And it's something that's, if I was to go live on Instagram right now, it would still be happening, probably less, which is nice. But you just reach a point where you're just like, you have to just like ignore it and be like, okay.
And didn't Justin came publicly to your defense and like said something?
Well, because I know that for him that's hurtful. Because if we have moved on, why can't you? Like, that's kind of just the whole thought process of like, it's just hurtful. It's hurtful. Yeah. It's bullying.
It brings me back to the Rob Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, the Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth, their first love, right? And people are obsessed, I feel like, with this concept of like your first relationship. Somehow it's being pushed onto you as like, get the fuck out of the way, like let them get back. And you're like, if I wasn't even here, that's not going to happen. So like, let us just live our lives. And now you go find your partner and you be happy. But it's hard.
I have had this conversation with a psychiatrist, with a therapist before, because I'm just like, I hate comparison. The whole point of this conversation is that we're talking about how my relationship is being compared to something else, or I'm being compared to another woman, and you know, get the fuck out of the way type of a thing. So where I'm at and the position I'm in, it's not for everybody, but everybody has a purpose. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're supposed to also be 25 and married and doing this, or I could have nothing figured out right now if in an alternate situation, in an alternate life.
Have you guys ever spoken?
Yes.
And then like recently? No, I don't guess not recently, but like after your marriage?
Yes. So that's why I'm like, it's all respect, it's all love. That's also why I feel like, well, if everybody on our side knows what happened and we're good, and we could walk away from it with clarity and respect, then like,
right,
that's fine.